There's a moment that arrives in every life when the story begins to change. Sometimes it announces itself dramatically. A relationship ends, a diagnosis arrives, a loss alters the landscape of daily life. At other times, the shift is quieter. What once felt certain begins to feel uncertain. A direction that seemed obvious no longer makes sense. Something familiar starts slipping away, and there's a growing awareness that the future may not look the way it was expected to. These moments are rarely comfortable. Human beings have an understandable affection for stability. Familiar routines, predictable outcomes, and a coherent sense of where life is heading offer a feeling of security. When that foundation begins to crack, even slightly, it can feel as though the ground itself is moving. The instinct is often to repair the disruption as quickly as possible. A solution is sought. A plan is formed. The mind begins working overtime, searching for an explanation that might restore a sense of order. Yet many of life's most significant passages refuse to be resolved so neatly. They ask for something more difficult than problem solving. They ask for patience. Patience is not a quality that receives much admiration in modern life. Speed is generally preferred. Efficiency is celebrated. Answers are expected immediately. Yet the deeper experiences of being human tend to unfold according to a different timetable. Grief takes the time it takes. Healing follows its own rhythm. Wisdom is notoriously slow. There is a tendency to imagine that clarity arrives first and action follows. Looking back, however, that is seldom how life actually unfolds. More often, clarity emerges through movement. A small decision is made, a conversation takes place, an unexpected opportunity appears. The path reveals itself gradually rather than all at once. Understandably, this can be frustrating, particularly during periods of uncertainty. The mind prefers complete pictures. It would like to know where things are heading before taking the first step. Life rarely offers such guarantees. A walk through the woods provides a useful metaphor. On a foggy morning, only a short stretch of trail may be visible. The trees disappear into the mist. The destination cannot be seen. Yet the next few feet remain clear enough to continue. There's rarely a need to see the entire path. Seeing the next portion is usually enough. Many years of yoga practice have reinforced this lesson for me. The most valuable aspects of practice have had very little to do with touching my toes or mastering postures. Instead, the practice has offered repeated opportunities to become familiar with discomfort. Not injury or pain, but the ordinary discomfort of being present with things exactly as they are. A posture feels challenging. The impulse is to escape it. The breath becomes strained. Frustration appears. Comparison appears. Impatience appears. Then, if enough space is created around the experience, something interesting happens. The discomfort changes. What seemed unbearable becomes workable. What felt permanent begins to shift. Life operates in much the same way. The difficulty, of course, is that challenging periods rarely announce their purpose while they're occurring. Their meaning tends to emerge later. Looking back, it often becomes possible to recognize that an ending created room for a beginning, or that a period of uncertainty encouraged growth that certainty never would have allowed. At the time, however, such insights are usually unavailable. This may be one reason why trust is such an essential part of any contemplative practice. Not blind optimism, not the assumption that everything happens for a reason. Simply trust in the understanding that change is the nature of life and that uncertainty is not evidence that something has gone wrong. A great deal of suffering comes from treating uncertainty as a mistake. Yet uncertainty accompanies nearly every meaningful transition. It is present when careers change, when relationships evolve, when children grow up, when identities shift, and when new chapters begin. Far from being an exception to life, uncertainty appears to be woven into its very fabric. There is a certain freedom in recognizing this. The pressure to have everything figured out begins to soften. The expectation that every question must have an immediate answer loses some of its authority. Perhaps not knowing is not a problem to be solved. Perhaps it is simply a place to stand. The older I get, the more appreciation I have for this idea. Some of the most important developments in my life arrived uninvited. They were not part of a carefully designed plan. They emerged through detours, disappointments, unexpected encounters, and moments that initially appeared to be setbacks. Had the original plan succeeded, many of these experiences would never have occurred. This doesn't mean that every hardship contains a hidden blessing. Some losses are simply painful. Some experiences leave wounds that never fully disappear. There is no need to romanticize suffering. At the same time, there is something to be said for remaining open to the possibility that a chapter can end without the story being over. A forest after a wildfire offers another image worth considering. From a distance, the landscape appears devastated. Trees are blackened. Familiar features have vanished. The scene feels defined by destruction. Yet beneath the surface, a different process is already underway. Certain seeds germinate only after exposure to intense heat. New growth begins long before it becomes visible. Life often resembles this process. During periods of upheaval, attention naturally gravitates toward what has been lost. The future appears barren because it has not yet taken shape. Meanwhile, something new may already be quietly emerging beyond the limits of immediate perception. The challenge is that such developments cannot be forced. They unfold in their own time. For anyone moving through a difficult season, there may be comfort in remembering that uncertainty is not the opposite of progress. The absence of a clear plan does not mean life has lost direction. A story can continue unfolding even when the next chapter has not yet been written. When things fall apart, the invitation is not necessarily to put them back together immediately. Sometimes the invitation is simply to remain present, to keep showing up, and to allow life the space required to reveal what comes next. The future has a way of arriving on its own. Until then, there is this moment, this breath, and this day. More often than not, that is enough.